I've always been the kind of guy who keeps his head down at the gym. Go in, lift, maybe run a little and get out. No chit chat, no messing around. Just me, my headphones, and my routine. The thing is, there's this guy the first always see there. His name's Dylan. I didn't even know it at first, but you can't miss him. Tall, athletic, shaved sides with messy curls on top, tattoos creeping up both arms, and the kind of smile that either makes you melt or want to punch him. Maybe both. He's loud, always surrounded by friends, always joking, laughing, high-fiving. Straight. Obviously. Guys like him usually are. For months, he was just background noise. Eye candy, sure, but nothing more. Until one day, the unthinkable happened. It was one of those miserable Mondays. The gym was nearly empty. I'd stayed late finishing work, so by the time I rolled into the locker room, it was just me, or so I thought. The moment I pushed open the door, I heard it. The hiss of the showers running. I figured someone else was wrapping up their session. No big deal. I grabbed my towel, peeled off my drenched shirt, and padded barefoot across the tiles toward the showers, and that's when I saw him. Dylan. Alone. He wasn't facing me, just standing there under the spray, palms braced against the wall like he was deep in thought, my pulse kicking up. Look away. Be normal. I almost did. Except, right then, he turned his head slightly and caught me looking. For half a second, neither of us moved. The rational part of me expected him to throw a towel over himself, glare, tell me to mind my business, something, anything. But that didn't happen. Instead, his gaze didn't shift away. He didn't cover up. If anything, he held it. Held my gaze. Then, swear to God, his mouth quirked up, just a little, barely a smirk. Didn't think anyone else was here, he said, voice steady, like this was the most normal thing in the world. I blinked. Yeah, me either. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was charged, like static before a storm. Then, casually, as if discussing the weather, he asked, "You always come this late?" "Not usually," I replied, forcing my voice to stay even. "Rough day." Dylan nodded slowly, turning fully under the water now, not bothering to hide a thing. Yeah, me too. My brain was short-circuiting. Was this happening? Was this normal straight guy behavior? Some kind of alpha move? A dominance thing? Or was it something else? Before I could figure it out, Dylan tilted his head, wiping water from his face. What's your name again? I've seen you here before." "Eli," I managed. "Right. Eli." He nodded, as if committing it to memory. "You're pretty quiet," I huffed a laugh. "Yeah, I guess." He stepped a little closer. Not much, but enough that I could smell the faint hint of his body wash beneath the steam. "Why's that?" he asked. I swallowed, pulse hammering. "I don't know. Just not my scene. The gym social stuff." Dylan grinned. "Yeah, fair." For a moment, we both just stood there. The sound of water filling the silence, the heat curling between us. He wasn't breaking eye contact. Not even a little. Then, he reached for the faucet, twisting it off. Water stopped. He grabbed the towel slung over the rail, patting down his chest, then glanced at me. Right at me. "You done?" he asked. I blinked. Yeah, I guess." "Cool," he said, tossing the towel over his shoulder. Come on." Dylan smirked, nodding toward the lockers. "Come here. You and I need to talk." And just like that, he turned and walked off, like it was a perfectly normal thing to say. And like an absolute idiot, I followed. I followed him. Don't ask me why. I still don't fully understand it myself. My brain was firing off every warning signal it could muster, but my feet didn't get the memo. Dylan strode ahead, towel hanging low on his hips, water still dripping down his neck. He wasn't in a rush, but there was this casual confidence in the way he walked, like he knew I was trailing him, like he wanted me to. We reached the lockers. He swung his open, rummaging for his gym bag. I hovered awkwardly a few steps behind, trying to act like this wasn't the weirdest moment of my entire life. "You good?" Dylan asked, not looking at me but with this lazy grin that suggested he very much knew what he was doing. Yeah, I'm fine," I coughed. "You said you wanted to talk?" He tossed a glance over his shoulder. "Yeah." Then, without warning, he dropped his towel. Completely. Just let it fall. And yeah, full view. No shame, zero hesitation. I snapped my head up like a reflex, staring at the ceiling. "Dude, what?" he said, smirking as he casually pulled on a pair of black briefs, taking his sweet time about it. "We're in a locker room." My heart was pounding. Yeah, right, obviously." When I finally risked looking back down, he was shimmying into a pair of joggers, the fabric hugging his thighs in ways that were objectively unfair. He tugged a hoodie over his head, then turned and leaned back against the locker, arms crossed. "Look," he started, gaze fixed on me. "I'm just gonna ask you straight up. You into guys?" It hit me like a punch. I stared, my mouth working uselessly. "What?" Dylan shrugged. "You heard me. You into guys?" Yeah, I am." My voice came out thinner than I liked. His head tilted slightly, eyes narrowing, like he was processing that. "Cool." "Cool?" I repeated, brain barely catching up. "Yeah, cool," he said again, casually. I figured. "You figured?" "Yeah." His mouth curved into this crooked little grin. "You look at me like you think I don't notice." Heat shot straight to my face. What? "No, I wasn't." He laughed. An actual full-on laugh, head thrown back slightly. "Relax, man. I'm not mad, not weirded out." I stared, stunned. "You? Okay, then why?" Dylan pushed off the locker and stepped closer, closing the space between us by at least half. Not touching. Not yet, but close enough that I could smell him. Clean skin, soap, something faintly musky underneath. "'Cause I'm curious," he said simply. My throat dried instantly. "Curious?" "Yeah." He rubbed the back of his neck, suddenly looking, God help me, almost nervous. "Look, I've never, done anything with a guy, but I've been thinking about it. Kinda a lot lately." I blinked. "Wait, seriously?" He nodded, and I don't know, you seem safe, cool, chill. Not the type to, be weird about it. My head spun. "So, you just decided to spring this on me? In the locker room?" Dylan chuckled. "Look, man, I'm not exactly good at subtle. No kidding." He grinned, then let his gaze flick down for a split second. Just a second, before meeting my eyes again. "You're not freaked out, right?" he asked, voice softer now. If I'm being real, I shook my head, heart still racing. "No, not freaked out, just surprised." "Yeah, me too," he murmured. Silence, thick, tense, not uncomfortable. More like something electric hanging in the air, daring one of us to do something about it. Dylan shifted his weight, hands sliding into the pockets of his joggers. "Look, I get if you're not into this, but if you are, maybe. I don't know. We figure some stuff out." My mouth went dry. "You mean, like..." He gave a crooked smile. "Yeah, like that." I stared at him, at the way his lips tugged to one side, at the flicker of nerves behind that cocky grin, and for the first time since this whole insane conversation started, I realized something. He was dead serious. I don't know how long we stood there. Me leaning against the locker, Dylan standing barely a foot away, his hands shoved deep into his pockets, watching me like he was waiting for me to make the next move. "You're serious," I finally said. Like my brain needed verbal confirmation that this wasn't some prank or some weird straight guy joke. "Yeah," Dylan nodded, biting his lower lip for half a second. "I wouldn't be saying this if I wasn't." I raked a hand through my hair, trying to breathe, trying to think. "I mean, yeah, I'm into you. I have been, probably since the first time I saw you here." Dylan's grin widened, like full-on, boyish, teeth-showing smile. "Yeah, kinda figured." "Is it that obvious?" I groaned. "Nah," he chuckled. "Only to someone who was looking." That shut me up. Because wait. Did that mean he had been looking? Before I could even process that, he stepped back slightly, kicking at the bench with his sneaker. "So, look. If this is weird for you, we pretend this convo never happened. No pressure. But if it's not..." He let the sentence hang in the air. "What are you saying exactly?" I asked, arms crossed. Dylan glanced around like he was checking if anyone else was nearby. "I don't know. Maybe come back to mine, hang out, talk, or whatever." My stomach did this weird flip. "Right now?" "Yeah, unless you got somewhere else to be," I snorted. "No, not exactly." He rubbed the back of his neck again, this time looking less cocky, more vulnerable. "Look, I know I'm doing this all wrong. I don't know how this works. When I saw you walk in the showers tonight, something kind of clicked. I've been thinking about it way too much, so yeah, I'm winging it." That honesty hit me harder than anything else. I grabbed my gym bag, tossing it over my shoulder. "All right," I said, voice steady now. "Let's go." Dylan blinked like he wasn't expecting me to actually say yes. Then his whole face broke into this wide grin. "Yeah, cool, yeah." We left together, side by side. No words between us for the first few minutes as we crossed the parking lot. When we got to his car, some beat-up old Jeep that didn't match the cocky gym jock vibe he gave off, he hit the unlock button and gestured. "Hop in." The moment we were inside, something shifted. The air. The silence. The reality of what was happening hit both of us at once. His hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, like he was hyping himself up. "You sure?" he asked, glancing over at me. "Yeah," I said. "Are you?" He huffed a quiet laugh. "No idea." We drove in silence for a bit. Not uncomfortable, just heavy. My heart wouldn't stop pounding. Every time his hand brushed the gear shift, my eyes tracked it. Strong hands, veiny forearms. I'd seen them lifting weights 100 times, but never this close. Never in this context. About 10 minutes in, Dylan broke the silence. "You know," he started, fingers tapping the steering wheel. "This isn't the first time I've thought about it." "About what?" "This," he said, waving a hand vaguely between us. "Guys, stuff, I don't know, yeah?" My voice came out quieter than I expected. "Yeah," he sighed, like the words were dragging themselves out of him. "Never really told anyone. Not even sure what it means. I still like girls, I guess, but then I catch myself watching you. Or someone else. Just wondering." I swallowed, staring out the window for a second before turning back. "You don't have to label anything, you know." He nodded, gripping the wheel tighter. Yeah. I figured. Then, without warning, his hand left the steering wheel. Slowly. Like he was testing the waters. And then, hesitant at first, it landed on my knee. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. "You okay?" he asked, voice low now, like barely above a whisper low. I nodded. "Yeah." His thumb brushed back and forth, slow, tentative, testing, exploring. My heart was doing acrobatics, but I didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't pull away. Neither did he. Dylan didn't look at me, just stared straight ahead, jaw tight, pretending like this was perfectly normal. And then, without warning, he chuckled under his breath. Jesus, I have no idea what I'm doing. Me neither, I whispered back, laughing quietly. But neither of us pulled our hands away. The rest of the drive was a blur. His hand stayed on my knee the entire time, sometimes just resting there, sometimes giving these little squeezes, like he was checking if I was still real, still there. I'd never felt anything like it. The tension was insane. Not the bad kind, the good kind. The kind that builds and builds, winding tighter and tighter until you're not even sure if it's excitement or panic, or both. We pulled into the parking lot of his apartment complex. It wasn't anything fancy, just a standard 3-story building with faded numbers over each door. Dylan killed the engine but didn't move right away, his hand still on me, his jaw still tight. "You sure?" he asked again, voice low. "Yeah," I replied. "Are you?" He huffed out a shaky laugh. "Guess we're about to find out." We got out, and for a second, walking side by side toward the stairs. Neither of us spoke. His hands were shoved deep in his pockets, but he kept glancing sideways at me, like he was trying to figure out if this was actually happening, or if he'd wake up and it'd all be a dream. When we got to his door, he fumbled the keys, dropped them, swore under his breath. "Nervous much?" I teased, even though my own heart was pounding. "Shut up," he muttered, laughing as he bent to grab them. The door swung open. His place was exactly what I expected. Simple. Couch. TV, sneakers kicked off near the entrance. A half-finished protein shake on the kitchen counter. A pull-up bar wedged in the bedroom doorway. "Make yourself at home," Dylan said, kicking the door shut behind us. I hovered awkwardly in the living room, not sure where to stand, where to sit. This wasn't exactly a normal hangout situation. This was something else. Dylan dropped his bag by the couch, turned to face me, and for a second, neither of us moved. Then he took a step forward, then another, until he was close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating off his body. His gaze flicked from my eyes to my mouth and back again. "Okay," he breathed, voice barely audible. "So, I have no idea how this works." I swallowed hard. "Me neither. But I think you just do whatever feels right." His eyes searched mine for a second longer. And then, finally, he leaned in. His lips brushed mine. Tentative at first. Like, he was testing if it was allowed, if it was okay. I didn't pull back, didn't hesitate. I kissed him back. It started soft, careful. But that didn't last long. When we finally broke apart, breathless, he rested his forehead against mine, grinning like an idiot. "Jesus," he muttered, voice low and rough. "Didn't think I'd actually do that." "Me neither," I whispered. He pulled back just enough to look me in the eyes. "You okay?" "Yeah, you?" Dylan laughed, shaking his head. "No, not even a little, but in a good way?" "Yeah," I agreed. "Me too." There was a pause. Then he chuckled again, biting his bottom lip like he couldn't believe any of this was real. He scratched the back of his neck, looking almost shy. "Kinda want to do that again, if you're cool with it." "Yeah," I breathed. "I'm cool with it." So he kissed me again. And this time, neither of us held back. Somewhere between the second kiss and the third, something shifted. It stopped feeling like an accident, like a maybe, a curiosity, an experiment. It felt real, deliberate, like both of us had quietly decided that, yeah, We were doing this. No more second guessing. Dylan backed me toward the couch, hands firm on my waist, mouth still pressed to mine, breathing heavy and uneven. He pulled back just enough to mumble against my lips. "You sure?" "Yeah." I nodded, voice shaky but certain. "Are you?" His laugh was breathless, almost disbelieving. I can't even think straight right now. But yeah, the back of my knees hit the couch, and he gave a little push. Not hard, more playful than anything, just enough to send me falling back onto the cushions. Dylan followed instantly, one knee between mine, hands braced on either side of my shoulders. There was something wild in his eyes. Not dangerous, just raw, unfiltered. Like the filter that most straight guys wear around queer stuff was gone now, stripped away by whatever was happening between us. "God," he breathed, staring down at me like I was something he didn't quite know how to handle but wanted anyway. I didn't think this would feel like this. "Yeah," I agreed, barely able to breathe. "Me either." "Is this okay?" he asked quietly. "Yeah," I managed, "more than okay." His gaze dipped to where my hand was splayed over his stomach. "You can, if you want," he mumbled, like he wasn't totally sure how to say it. "Touch!" "Yeah?" I asked, fingers already trailing up, skating over the line between muscle and skin. "Yeah," he whispered. His eyes fluttered shut as I traced the ink over his ribs. His breath hitched, and when his hand found the back of my neck, tugging me up into another kiss, it felt less like curiosity now, and more like need. At some point, the world outside stopped existing. There was no gym, no locker room, no city, just the two of us tangled on his couch, half laughing, half breathless, like we were figuring this out one touch, one glance, one kiss at a time. When things finally slowed, Dylan flopped back against the armrest, pulling me with him until my head was on his shoulder. "Okay," he said after a long moment. "So, yeah," I chuckled. "Same." He turned his head, resting his chin on top of mine. "I am definitely not straight." I laughed. "Yeah, I kinda got that. But I don't know what this means," he added, voice softer now. "I don't know how this works, what this is." I shifted just enough to look him in the eye. "It doesn't have to mean anything right now. It's whatever we want it to be." He nodded, chewing on his bottom lip. "I like that." "Me too." Silence settled again. But it wasn't awkward. It was warm, comfortable. Neither of us seemed ready to move. Like if we stayed like this long enough, the whole world would melt away and leave just us. "I never thought," Dylan started, then stopped. "I never thought it would be you." My chest tightened. "Yeah?" He smiled, soft this time. "Yeah, but I'm glad it is." We stayed like that for a long time. Him leaning back on the couch, me resting against his shoulder, both of us staring at nothing in particular. The TV was off. The only sound was the quiet hum of traffic somewhere in the distance and the occasional creak of the buildings settling. It was weird, not in a bad way, just surreal. I'd spent months, maybe longer, imagining what it would be like to be close to him like this. And now that it was happening, it felt both completely strange and totally natural. "You okay?" Dylan asked after a while, his voice softer now, less cocky, less performative. "Yeah," I said. "You?" He let out a long breath. "I think so. I mean, my brain's kind of doing this thing where it keeps asking, did I actually do that, on a loop?" I laughed. "Yeah, same." Dylan tilted his head back, staring at the ceiling. "It's so weird, man. Like, I never thought this would be a thing. For me." I glanced up at him. "What exactly is this?" "For you, I mean," he shrugged. "I don't know. I've never thought about it seriously before. Never let myself, I guess." There was something honest in the way he said it. No jokes. No dodging. Just Dylan, trying to process something that clearly didn't come with an instruction manual. I guess it's not like flipping a switch, I offered. It's figuring it out. Yeah, he nodded. That sounds right. Silence settled again, but this time it wasn't heavy, just thoughtful. Like both of us were trying to sort through 100 feelings at once. You know what's weird? Dylan asked suddenly. What? I don't feel weird about this. I thought I would. I thought I'd feel like, I don't know, like I'd done something wrong, but I don't. I smiled. Yeah, me neither. Dylan glanced at me, and for a second, his usual grin peeked through. Guess that's a good sign. Definitely. He shifted, sitting up a little straighter, running a hand through his hair like he was trying to clear his head. But, man, this is gonna mess with me. In, like, every way. How so? I asked. He groaned. Dude, you've seen my friends. You know how they are. If they even suspected that this happened, they'd lose their minds. Yeah, I nodded. But you don't have to tell anyone. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Dylan nodded slowly. Yeah, I know. I guess it's just a lot. I shifted next to him, picking at a loose thread on the couch cushion. Hey, for what it's worth, there's no rush, no pressure. I'm not expecting anything. You figure it out at your own pace. Dylan looked at me, something softer in his eyes now. Thanks. Seriously, you're cool about this. Cooler than I'd be if the roles were flipped. I smirked. I don't know. You handled it pretty well for someone who, initiated the whole thing. That got him to laugh. Yeah, well, surprise, I guess. He leaned back, hands folded behind his head. This is gonna sound dumb, but I kinda don't want this night to end. I swallowed. Yeah, me neither. He turned his head toward me. So, you wanna stay for a bit? Just hang out? Talk? Yeah, I nodded. I'd like that. Cool, Dylan grinned, relaxing into the cushions. Cool. So that's what we did. We sat there, talking. About nothing. About everything. About dumb Jim stuff. About his job. About my job. About movies we both pretended to hate but secretly liked. Somewhere in there, he admitted he'd cried during The Lion King as a kid. I admitted I still cried watching it. And for the first time in a long time, it felt like the world outside didn't matter. It was just us. The hours slipped by without either of us noticing. What started as this charged, confusing mess of emotions had somehow softened into something comfortable. Dylan had his feet kicked up on the coffee table now, hoodie pulled back on, but his hair still messy from earlier. He kept fidgeting with the sleeve, tugging at the loose threads, like his hands needed something to do while his brain caught up to everything that had happened. So, what now? He finally asked, glancing over at me with that same slightly nervous, slightly hopeful look he'd worn all night. I shrugged, half smiling. I don't know. Doesn't have to be anything big. We figure it out. Or, we don't. No pressure. He nodded, thinking. I don't know what this is yet, or what I want it to be, but his voice trailed off for a second before he added, I liked it. I like this, whatever it is. My chest tightened in a way that wasn't stressful, just full. Yeah, me too. Dylan leaned his head back against the couch, closing his eyes. You're gonna mess me up, you know that? I laughed. Yeah, you're the one who started this, man. He cracked one eye open. True. Still, kinda glad I did. Same. For a minute, we just sat in silence. But not awkward silence, the good kind. The kind where it feels like you don't have to fill it with anything. where just being in the same space is enough. Then Dylan sighed, stretching like a cat. You hungry? We should eat something, I blinked. Dude, it's like midnight. Yeah, he grinned. Perfect pizza time. I chuckled. Fair. We ordered pizza, extra cheese, because apparently Dylan's a monster, and ended up sitting cross-legged on the living room floor, eating straight out of the box. No pressure, no expectations, just two guys figuring each other out in real time. At one point, Dylan looked at me, chewing thoughtfully. So, does this mean you're coming to leg day tomorrow? You can't ghost me at the gym now. I nearly choked on my slice. Wait, hold on. Just because we had, a moment, does not mean I'm suffering through leg day with you. He laughed, leaning back on his hands. Nah, man. No backing out now. You're part of the crew. I rolled my eyes but couldn't stop smiling. We'll see. When the pizza was gone and the clock pushed toward 2 a.m., I stood, stretching. I should probably head home. Dylan stood too, rubbing the back of his neck like he was debating something. Yeah, unless... you could crash here if you wanted. I blinked. Yeah? He shrugged, suddenly looking a little shy. Yeah. Couch is yours, or whatever. No pressure, just... company's nice. My heart did that dumb little skip again. Yeah, I'd like that. So I stayed. We didn't overthink it. No big talks, no defining anything, just crashed. Him on one end of the couch, me on the other. At some point, I felt his foot nudge mine under the blanket. Not on accident. I nudged back. And that was it. Simple. Easy. No expectations. No labels. Just something real. Something neither of us expected. But maybe exactly what we both needed.